The air was thick with the scent of burning incense as thousands gathered at the Grand Stadium in Lagos. The man on stage, draped in a white robe embroidered with gold, raised his hands to the heavens. They called him Prophet Elijah of the Fire Mountain Ministry, the man whose touch could heal the sick and command wealth to the poor. His voice boomed through the speakers, declaring miracles in the name of God. Yet hidden in the shadows were whispers of blood oaths and midnight gatherings where power was exchanged for something far darker. His rise had been meteoric. A decade ago, he was a struggling preacher, unknown and irrelevant. Then, overnight, everything changed. His sermons began drawing millions. His church expanded across Africa, and politicians sought his counsel before elections. The media praised his philanthropic gestures, building orphanages, feeding the poor. But behind closed doors, there were stories. Stories of missing church members, tales of those who defied him and mysteriously vanished, and rumors of a secret chamber within his Lagos cathedral, where the most powerful men in the country gathered under cover of darkness. A former associate, speaking anonymously, revealed shocking details. He was not always like this. The voice trembled in a leaked recording. He used to pray like every normal pastor. But one day, he went to Benin City, and when he returned, he was different. He spoke in tongues we had never heard before, and his eyes, they changed. One by one, investigative journalists had attempted to dig deeper, but each time, the stories were buried before they saw the light of day. One such journalist, Ifeanyi Okonkwo, had compiled a dossier filled with names, locations, and dates, evidence of rituals, blood sacrifices, and the names of high-ranking officials who were part of the inner circle. But before he could publish, he was found dead in his apartment, the official report stating natural causes. Those who saw the body knew better. In the political heart of Abuja, another story was unfolding. Senator Chijioke Maduka, known for his ruthless political maneuvers, had just secured his re-election in what many called a miracle victory. His opponent had been leading in the polls, yet something shifted overnight. The masses, as it possessed, swarmed polling stations, chanting Maduka's name as if under a spell. A whistleblower, who worked in the senator's inner circle, came forward with a startling claim. 3 nights before the election, he traveled to a hidden shrine in Oyo. It wasn't just him. There were others, businessmen, entertainers, even a popular pastor. They all made a pledge that night. The next morning, everything changed. Maduka's wealth was unexplained. His father had been a poor farmer, yet by 40, he owned multiple estates across Africa. Insiders claimed his allegiance wasn't to the people, but to the Brotherhood, a powerful secret society dating back to pre-colonial times. The rituals were said to be ancient, their practices whispered in the old tongues of the Benin Empire. It was believed that certain individuals had to be sacrificed for one's power to grow. Business rivals, family members, even political opponents. The more the whistleblower revealed, the more paranoia grew. Calls came from unknown numbers. Cryptic messages were left on his doorstep. Then, one evening, he disappeared, his last known location traced to a remote village near Benin City, the same place Prophet Elijah had visited years ago. While the world focused on politicians and pastors, another dark current ran through Africa's entertainment industry. Young artists, desperate for fame, often spoke in hushed tones about the price. It was said that to truly make it, one had to be chosen, or rather, to choose. Many had walked into that world and never returned the same. Some disappeared altogether. One such case was that of rising Afrobeat star Depo D-Vibes Olatunji. In just 2 years, he went from a street performer in Ikeja to selling out stadiums worldwide. His transformation was unexplainable. One moment, he was struggling. The next, his name was on the lips of every fan. But there were whispers. Former friends noticed how he distanced himself, how his lyrics became darker, filled with cryptic messages. Then came the ultimate warning. A fellow artist, who had once been his closest friend, was found dead under mysterious circumstances. The autopsy report claimed it was a drug overdose, but those close to him knew he had never touched a substance in his life. A video leaked on the dark web showed something chilling, a late-night gathering in a secluded mansion, where several high-profile celebrities stood in a circle, chanting in a forgotten dialect. At the center of the circle was Dapo, blindfolded, his hands trembling. The video cut off before the ritual ended, but its existence was enough to raise alarm. When journalists tried to track down the source, they were met with silence. Some who had spoken up went missing. Despite the fear, the pattern was clear. Those at the top of the game, whether in religion, politics, or entertainment, seemed to have a common thread: a visit to Benin City, a connection to something much older, much darker. And for those who defied it, the consequences were deadly. The morning air in Lagos was thick with humidity as investigative journalist A.O. Bassi tightened the straps on his backpack. His destination, Benin City, the epicenter of whispers and unsolved mysteries. A.O. had spent months collecting data on the powerful figures allegedly tied to the Brotherhood. Politicians, entertainers, and prophets who seemed to rise overnight, only for those who questioned their ascent to vanish. The files on his laptop contained testimonies, grainy images of midnight gatherings, and the names of those who had dared to speak out before meeting untimely deaths. His mentor, Ifeanyi Okonkwo, had died under suspicious circumstances just days before publishing his findings. A.O. was determined to complete what his mentor had started. But he wasn't naive. He knew he was being followed. The black SUV that had trailed him through Lagos was now parked just a few meters away from the bus terminal. Were they watching, or was he simply being paranoid? He boarded the bus, pulling his hoodie over his head. Benin City awaited. 2 hours into the journey, his phone buzzed with an unknown number. A cold voice spoke. "Turn back, or your family will weep tonight." The line went dead. A.O.'s heart pounded, but he clenched his fists. He was already in too deep. Benin City was unlike anywhere else in Nigeria. Rich in history and cloaked in an air of mysticism, it was home to ancient traditions and unseen forces that many dared not speak of. A.O.'s contact, a former palace aide named Oseji, led him through the narrow streets to an unmarked compound. Inside, an old man, his eyes clouded with age, sat on a wooden stool, watching A.O. with unsettling intensity. "The brotherhood you seek," the elder rasped, "is not new. It is as old as the kingdom itself." Oseji hesitated before pulling out a faded photograph. It was an aerial shot of a hidden shrine, deep within the forest surrounding Benin. "This is where they gather," he whispered. "The gatekeepers of Benin. They control everything." A.O. stared at the image. The shrine bore strange markings, symbols that resembled the scarification patterns found on ancient Benin warriors. The deeper he dug, the more he realized that these men, politicians, pastors, celebrities, were mere pawns. A.O. stared at the image. The shrine bore strange markings, symbols that resembled the scarification patterns found on ancient Benin warriors. The deeper he dug, the more he realized that these men, politicians, pastors, celebrities, were mere pawns. The real power lay with the unseen figures who had guarded these secrets for centuries. That night, A.O. decided to go to the shrine. Oseji insisted it was too dangerous, but A.O. had come too far to turn back. Armed with a small camera and a recorder, he set out into the dense forests. The deeper he walked, the colder the air became. Then he saw it, a clearing lit by torches. Hooded figures stood in a circle, chanting in an ancient dialect. In the center, a young man knelt, trembling. His wrists were bound, his mouth gagged. A figure in a red robe stepped forward, raising a blade. A.O.'s hands shook as he pressed record. The blade came down. The scream was swallowed by the wind. The figures turned, as if sensing they were being watched. A.O. ran. He didn't stop until he reached his motel, drenched in sweat. His mind raced. Who was the victim? Had he just witnessed the initiation of a new member? Or was it a punishment for someone who had defied them? He plugged in his camera to review the footage. But the screen was blank. His laptop screen flickered. A message appeared. "We see you." A.O. barely slept that night. The chilling message on his laptop screen kept flashing in his mind. "We see you." Who were they? And how had they erased his footage so effortlessly? His pulse quickened as he checked his phone. Oseji had not responded to his messages. The last time they spoke, Oseji had been insistent. "If anything happens to me, don't trust anyone." Determined to find answers, A.O. ventured to Oseji's home at dawn. The door was ajar, The room eerily silent. Papers were scattered. The air smelled of burnt fabric, and on the wall, a chilling symbol was drawn in red chalk. The same markings from the shrine. Ao swallowed hard. Someone had gotten to Oseji first. He turned to leave, but a low groan stopped him in his tracks. Oseji was barely conscious, slumped in the corner, his face bruised, his lips trembling. You shouldn't have come, he wheezed. Ao kneeled beside him, but Oseji's bloodshot eyes darted around in terror. They took my wife, my son. His voice cracked. You have to run. Ao, you don't understand what you're dealing with. But Ao wasn't going anywhere. Not yet. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button and turn on notifications and give this video a like. Also, share it with others to support my work and encourage me to create more educative and entertaining content. Head to the comment section and share your thoughts. Thank you, and see you in the next episode.